So I just created a video. This is my new to me 2014 Audi Q7. Right now I have all these parts. We're gonna go ahead and go through. We're gonna do transmission service. We're doing the transfer case, oil change, this oil filter, gear oil for the back. We're not gonna do the front diff. The front diff that's making noise, I'm not gonna service it. There's no use. It needs to be rebuilt or replaced. So we're gonna avoid the front diff. I have the correct oil, a gigantic fuel filter, I have some wiper blades, some hood struts, and I have transmission fluid. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on this sucker, and hopefully it doesn't take too long. But this is a 2014 Audi Q7 with a 3-liter turbo diesel engine in it. It does have 90, not a good place to mount this. It does have 94,000 miles on it. I just bought it. I myself, unfortunately, am very particular, to put it politely. My stuff, I try to make sure it's taken care of to the maximum. So the dealership I bought it from, they wouldn't tell me what they just did to it. I know that they did brakes, or they put brand new pads all the way around, machined the rotors, it looks like, and then obviously brand new tires, but they wouldn't tell me servicing wise. So irregardless, we're gonna go ahead and do an oil change. We're gonna put the correct oil in it, a high quality filter. My stuff, I like it perfect. So, you know, the oil change, it is a little expensive. If you don't know anything about diesels, especially the newer ones, they require a specific type of oil. You can't just put regular oil in it, because it will damage the emission system downstream. And this car is, you know, I'm in California, so we got to be above the board. Especially me, auto repair, you know, I can't play games with that. So this one's gonna have all the emission stuff on it. So we're gonna go ahead and get this started. We're gonna go ahead and pull this oil filter out first, because it's a canister. We're gonna let it drain. Now generally, Volkswagen, Audi, you know, you can usually suck it from the dipstick. And usually that's 99% of the time what I do. This one I am not going to do that though. And the reason why is the drain plug is leaking. So we're gonna pull the drain plug out, replace the washer on the drain plug, torque it up nice and good, and then we're gonna go ahead and start knocking this thing out. So I'm gonna pull the filter off. Let's get started on this thing, because I have been here for like 4 hours, and I should have started on it hours ago for a unrelated reason. So the oil filter is a 32. Funny little story. Last week when I bought it, I put on the rack to do an oil change, and I ordered the wrong oil filter. I ordered it for a 3-liter supercharged engine, not the 3-liter turbo diesel. So yeah, they obviously are different. So we're gonna go ahead and pull that off. You don't want to lift it up because you don't want it to leak. Hopefully you can see. I'm gonna go ahead and knock this fuel filter out while I'm right here. Just trying to make the best of my time. Now, I've never worked on one of these. I've never worked on a turbo diesel, a V6 turbo diesel Audi Volkswagen product. This is my first time ever really getting into one. And I'm gonna say, as much as I'm a fan of Volkswagen Audi, this fuel filter is not the best idea. I personally prefer canister style, just because I can kind of see what's going on, you know, see if there's any sort of contamination. And these hose clamps, every time you take them off, you get weaker and weaker and weaker. And I know there's some people on the internet that I watch, I see them crop up every now and then, and they're like, they don't like the screw type hose clamps because they think they're bad, which I'm not going to disagree with you, because they kind of are. They definitely have their weaknesses. You know, it's all personal preference. Me personally, these clamps are great once. After that, after you start, you know, look at this, you can see how the top of it's bent. It's not even sitting on the hose, this side of it. So I would like to replace these, especially with something else, but that might not happen. We'll see how it goes. Try not to break anything today. That would be the goal. We're just doing this while I'll let the oil filter drain. Then I'll change the oil filter, we'll lift it up and start tearing into it from below. I don't really want to make a mess today. Let me grab some rags. Don't get mad, I only grabbed a few. Grab the whole thing. I really don't want to make a mess. But there's no way to, and I hope whoever did this last put the filter in correctly, because it's going back in the same way. Let's see if we can figure it out. Huh. I don't know. That is interesting. It's interesting to say the least. Well, the good news is it looks like they're different sizes, so Doesn't look like you can really screw it up, but man, Volkswagen, you guys really need to put a canister back on these. Like the 4-cylinders, and I guess the older ones had like the 4-cylinder TDIs have, which I like. I think it's a great idea. So you can actually see what you're doing. That was already hanging off. Really don't want to make a mess today. So we're gonna use the plugs off the new one so we don't leak all this fuel. I'm gonna try to slide it out. I don't know if this is the way you're supposed to do it. Like I said, this is my first time really getting into one of these. So I'm very particular with my vehicles and my customers. Most of my customers, whatever it needs, we do, because they know how weird I am about making sure it's perfect. Okay. And I should put a serpentine belt on it too. I didn't think of that. So I'll order one of those up, and we'll have to do that next time, or I probably won't film it. But really don't like this clamp. I think, I don't want to sound stupid, but I need to see the flow characteristic. It's kind of weird because it tees off and goes back. So I don't know if it's, I don't know. I want to say it's in the return, but that doesn't make any sense at all. And this does have that dreaded CP4, like you know, diesels. The CP4 is a very, very bad pump. We deal with them on the Fords, the Duramaxes, pretty much everything. Everything has them in the best condition possible. So fuel filter's all done. Both the clamps are on. It's in its place. It's put in the same direction. And the nice thing is, like I said, sometimes Volkswagen, Audi, a lot of people like to give them crap. They're actually not too bad. A lot of the vehicles are junk, to be honest, but some of them are good. They do engineer things weird, but it's great. Like this, for a good example, they're different sizes, so you can't screw it up. You can't put it in backwards, which is really nice. So we're gonna go ahead and take this filter out, and this filter is a CarQuest because I already had it out. Like I said, I went to do an oil change and noticed that I had the wrong oil filter. Anytime you do a cartridge filter, you should always start taking that out. And then we got to find the hole. There's a hole for the drain on the oil filter. I'm gonna go ahead and change this O-ring, pop the old one off, go ahead and set the new one in here. Try not to get any rag droppings in this, and make sure you put it in the right spot, because you can get confused and put it in that secondary spot right there, but it actually goes on that top end. And then I'm just gonna wipe the oil on it that's all over my gloves. And the only reason why I put this oil filter in first is because it's got this little nipple. This is the drain nipple, and that's got to sit in there, and what that does is I think it holds the oil in the filter housing. So when you take it out, it pulls that nipple out and it drains the filter housing. So that's got to go get lined up first. It doesn't go any which way. Let's go ahead and tighten this up. My elbow, let me set my elbow to, I don't know what torque spec it is. Good news is it's my car, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, that's tight enough. Okay, so oil filter is done, fuel filter is done. Let me get all my stuff off. Let me get the cabiner, or the cabin, the cowl cover back in place. It is a little hectic and messy today. I had I ordered a Snap-on toolbox like 3 years ago, somewhere 2-3 years ago, and they sent me the wrong one, and I finally got the correct one today. So I've been organizing my tools. I had to switch toolboxes essentially, because the first one I ordered didn't have a power drawer, and the new one does. And little did I know, the power drawer, they're in different, the drawers on that side are in different places, which kind of sucks, but that's the new toolbox. It looks just like my old one, just that drawer right there wasn't as big, and it was, I believe, on the bottom, from what I can remember. It was heavy. She is a big girl. I think this thing weighs 5,500 pounds, this Audi Q7, I think. So now we're gonna go ahead and knock this oil change out. We'll just drain the oil out, reseal the drain plug, put it in, and then we're gonna go ahead and start on this transmission service. we'll see how that goes. Yeah, and I just bought this, and what's funny is it doesn't look like, when I bought it, I put it on the rack the next day, and there were no screws in here. This was just flapping down, and you can see marks. So there, it looks like there was a plate here at one time. I don't know if whether the dealer didn't put it back on or what, but stuff happens, you know, it is what it is. But let me get the camera in a better spot so we can both see. Oh, look, you just saw it drip. So let me get the camera in a better spot and I'll start. Okay, so we're going to need some 10s to pull this plate off. Yeah, that screw was my doing, unfortunately. So I think what we're gonna do, we're gonna play a little game. We're gonna just pry this down and get that drain plug out. 10s out. Okay. Now we're going to get this. What if this drain plug's loose? What do you think? That'd be crazy if it was. I just don't know if I'm gonna be able to. No, it's tight. That's the one thing with these Audi drain plugs. They really don't like to be messed with. It's a good idea on Audis to just do suck the oil from the top. I'm gonna pull this skid plate off, because then you don't have to worry about the drain plug leaking. And the funny thing is, the skid plate on the front that I'm taking off, I don't know if you can see, it takes two different types of screws, a coarse and a fine thread. So I took the cover off because I wanted to look at the engine after I bought it here. And they had a coarse screw and a fine hole, a fine threaded hole. So I'm like, oh, great, whatever. So I put it back in, and now it's stripped. So it is what it is. Eventually, I would like to get like metal ones or something, but it's not necessary right now. I don't really have the money for that. So let's go ahead and get this thing done, and then I just saw something, we're gonna have to fix it. Okay, that's loose. Oh, look at that. She's a leaker right there. She's ready to go. It's gonna be messy. I really don't want to get beads of oil on here. But I believe at this point in my life, it's inevitable. So we're gonna go ahead and just get it done. Not the best placement for a drain plug, but there's definitely worse. And the beautiful thing about a diesel is you can never tell if the oil's been replaced or not, because it is always black. Unless the engine's new or been heavily rebuilt. But we're gonna go ahead and get this. Now look at that washer, see how beveled it is inside? So we'll get that replaced. I'm gonna let it drain for a minute. Let me go find the replacement washer. This kind of oddly shaped drain plug. I have this fiber plasticky one that I'm gonna use. I don't have a problem using these. I personally prefer copper, but what are you gonna do? You know, I'm not gonna wait. We'll just put it together and call it a day. Now the one thing I noticed, see this wire hanging right here? What's this all about? Because I noticed that the bolts were shiny on the axles. So, oh, I can't even move the wheel. Oh, what's all this? Oh, this is fuel for me. See? So I'm gonna assume that clips back right there. Then this, that's it actually. That just clips right there, I believe. I'll have to keep an eye on that. Not really sure. Huh. This is interesting. I'm just learning more about my vehicle. What are these? Those look like heater pipes. Interesting. I don't know. So, and I think you just saw that upside down, which is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and put this drain plug in. Hope this washer doesn't leak. I have to use my special torque wrench, my arm. This isn't gonna be standard. Next time I'll probably order a drain plug with a magnet in it or something fancy. I actually think I have one, not for this vehicle though. So hopefully that doesn't leak. If it does, we'll change it. It's not a big deal. Especially if it's my car, I don't really care. I can always fix it later. So now that we're done with that, the kind of crappy part is this tranny pan is going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but we'll figure it out. So it's a Japanese 8-speed, so it should last a long time. We're just going to service it, just get this out of the way. The one thing I realized, I don't have a washer for the drain plug for the transmission, so that'll be a fun little adventure. So we're just going to go ahead and drain it. This is a, ooh, look how dirty that is. Oof. Well, we can go ahead and assume that that's never been replaced, which is just what I was expecting. And then on the inside of this, there is a little tube. I don't know if that's the right size. It's not. There's a like drain tube. Let's see. Let's put this in there. Okay, there it is. So you pull this little tube out so we can drain all the transmission fluid. And the transmission I have no problem with. It shifts really good. It shifts like an ace, and these Asian Japanese transmissions, they shift in their own little way. Not my personal preference the way they shift, but they're reliable, so that's all you can really ask for. When you either get reliability or you get good shifting. And at least Dodge didn't make this transmission. I think we'll be okay. So let me go ahead and get a 10 and we'll go ahead and start pulling the pan bolts. So let's go ahead and start pulling these. They're all just 10s. But I don't have my splash pan, so I might make a little bit of a mess, but we'll survive today. Let's see, look at Audi. People talk trash, but sometimes they think of you. You made nice little holes in this, hopefully to access these tranny pan bolts, but probably not, because this transmission, under everybody's new terminology, is considered a lifetime fill, which essentially means it never needs to be serviced, which is not true. If you service these transmissions, you know, especially this one, Japanese, you probably don't even have to really service it. I just am because, you know, that's me. They'll generally last forever. Forever being a long time. Ideally, probably at least a few 100,000 miles you can get out of this transmission, easy. You know, if you take care of it, should be no problem getting that type of mileage out of this. They really are great transmissions. Even the ZFs are pretty good. As long as you service them, they're a little more expensive to service, but they're still a great transmission. You know, it's German, but ZF's been building transmissions for a very long time. They should be know what they're doing by now. I mean, but then again, when we look at Chrysler dropping everything. Chrysler don't know what they're doing, and I mean, they've been around for a very long time too. Yep, and you're watching me use an extension as a pry bar to pop this off. It's gonna make a mess. So be ready for the splash factor. This thing is not the right way to do it. Let me just inform you of that. But I don't do things the right way. Well, I do, but not really. In this sense, I just don't really care. Just don't want to get tranny fluid dripping down my arms. Transmission fluid in your armpits is not a good time, because I am very impatient. Someone commented and said I'm patient. I am not. I mean, sometimes, maybe, depends. But overall, no, absolutely not. I'm just making a nice little mess for myself to clean up. Usually what will happen is, I'm working inside, they'll back up, they'll drop a vehicle right in front of the bay, and then I'm stuck. I've never had it happen, but it's always a possibility. Because some of these tow truck drivers, they don't care where they drop them, they just want to get it off their truck. Which I get it, but, you know. So you got a drippy a little bit, and that's okay. So there's the inside of an 8-speed Asian transmission. Nice Japanese engineering that money can buy. So we're gonna go ahead and lower this down. I can almost guarantee this thing's never been serviced. So first, now I'm having to think what I'm doing. So first we're gonna take this gasket off. It's a molded rubber gasket. I already got a brand new one. I bought a transmission filter kit, so it comes with this. Let this pan drain. And then we'll clean the pan out, get it all nice and pretty. Hopefully you got that. Okay, so we need to get the magnets out first. And I usually don't clean stuff under a vehicle like this, but unfortunately right now I don't have very much room over there. I don't have nowhere to clean it. Everything's full. I have a bumper off, so I can't really get in the back room easy. All my carts are covered with stuff. So we're just gonna do it all right here. It's my car, so it doesn't matter. You know, that good old saying. And you can see there is a little bit of metal, which is typical. It's an automatic transmission. It's got clutches in it and stuff. Stuff wears. It's 100% okay. So we're gonna set those right there, and please, please, please remind me to put them back in, because I will forget. And I'm sure everybody else has who's worked on cars. And my other product, oh no, cool, I got it. I thought I left my bag of rags on the engine bay, but I didn't, because I put the cover on. We're trying to get all the nasty big stuff off, because they like to leave residue behind. I know it's dripping, so we'll have to be mindful of that. They leave all these fibrous residue behind. See all these fibers in there? So you do not want to leave those in there when you go put this transmission pan back on, because it'll just plug up the filter, plug stuff up, hurt it. You don't want it. It's not a good idea. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna get it all nice and clean, and then I'm gonna spray it out with brake clean, so it's perfect. Get the good old brake clean out. I'm gonna clean the bottom of the pan, just do a nice little wipe job on it. You know, I'm not eating off the bottom of this car, thankfully, so it doesn't need to be perfect. I just want to make it look a little bit nicer. Filling it is going to be fun, because I haven't filled that yet. Because this doesn't have a dipstick. In German fashion, you have to pump it inside of the transmission. So I have a fluid pump somewhere around here that we are going to attempt to use. I used it recently actually on a Ford F-150, so it actually worked amazingly well. Because usually I have a 1.5 liter like giant kind of turkey baster looking deal that I usually pump the fluid in, but that takes forever. And the problem with that is it takes forever, and I threw it away because it was broken, so I don't have that no more. So now we're going to get in here, clean this thing out really good, try to get all the little hairy residues out. You don't want that stuff inside the transmission, you don't want it in your engine, you don't want it in anything. You just plug stuff up, make stuff stick. So hopefully that. Is everybody still with me there after that one? That was a rough one right there. So now I have these still dirty magnets, of course. Let's set the trans pan up down. Would like them to look a little nice. And then beautiful thing is they got little spots in there to show you where they go. To remind you too, because I know I speak for all of us. I've forgotten magnets before. It's not fun putting them back in. You gotta take it all back apart. Otherwise waste of fluid, or you'd be lazy and stick it on the bottom of the pan. So this is what the pan looks like. It's all cold, that's like water. I'm gonna blow all this moisture out of this pan. Now we're gonna go ahead and get this filter out. Just some 10s again. There's one. There's one up here. I'm gonna try to see the Germans. Think of everything. There's that one, yeah. Oh, it's windy outside, or there's a lot of noise that's coming from outside. That one is tight. That one is kind of tight too. I brought something you guys usually never see, and that's a ratchet, a hand ratchet. You think the world must have froze over, or we don't have no electricity here in California again? Well, you'd be incorrect. I'm just trying to make sure this stuff actually has to be tightened decent, you know. You don't have to tighten it to torque specification, but, and I'll show you why in a second. So let's get this drain pan back up. It's gonna pour transmission fluid out of the front of it, I'm sure, out of the front of the pump, leak all right there. That's just how it works. Then the O-ring gonna stay inside there, like right there. So we got that out. The other thing on this transmission is I am going to grossly overfill it. I have 8 liters of transmission fluid, and I'm going to fill it up. The reason why is because I want to try to displace as much of this nasty fluid that I can. And I'll show you, because this transmission, when you fill it, you have to fill it from the bottom. I personally believe on these, I like to overfill them, and just go along with me here. When you fill these transmissions, you fill them from the bottom, you fill it up, and then you get it to a certain temperature, then you pull the plug and check the fluid level. So I like to overfill them so that when I drain, they're at a perfect level. I don't have to waste time, pull the plug, nothing comes out, I have to shut it off, fill it back up, put the plug back in, let it cool down, and then restart the process over again. Let's go and get this tranny filter in. And I lubed up the O-ring by setting it up there, went nice and good. And I missed that hole. And don't tell me I got the wrong filter. And don't tell me, because I don't want to know. No, I did, thank goodness. Okay. And if you're not aware, today is a Saturday and I am at work. Just working on my own stuff and dealing with my toolbox issue, but not really ideal, but it's all part of life. You have to deal with it, you know? Stuff has to get done. This transmission fluid, you see how nasty this was? It's disgusting. This is unacceptable. But it's not the owner's fault of the car. Audi, just like most of everybody else, considers everything a lifetime fill. So, not really supposed to service it, but I absolutely do recommend servicing them. The problem becomes, when do you not service it? To, like, say you just bought it, has 200,000 miles. You know, should you service it even though it's never been serviced? I don't recommend servicing higher mileage transmissions unless they've been serviced, just because there's a lot of clutch material that's displaced in that fluid, and if you drain it out, and you know, you could have a transmission that doesn't work anymore. And I've had that happen to me. I've done a service on the car and the transmission loses a gear or something doesn't work right, and unfortunately it sucks, but it's part of the you know, oh, that was a mistake. You don't know till you know. But now we don't really mess with services like that. We'll go drive it, make sure it's good, and if it's higher mileage, advise the customer. You know, because you'll get some customers that try to, I hate to say this, but they'll try to get you. They'll bring it in, ask for a service, and then they'll blame you. Oh, the transmission wasn't like this before, and you know, and it was, and it's a bad situation to be in. You know, not all customers are like that. Very, very few. I think we've had that happen once, where one guy tried to do it to us, but thankfully we caught it. He said there was nothing wrong, but the technician drove it, and it didn't have a gear or something like that. I don't remember. It was like a long time ago. But yeah. But it can happen. You service it like this one. It could, you know, I service it and something could go wrong with it. The likelihood of it is very slim because, again, this is a pretty decent transmission. You know, it does have 94,000 miles on it, which is, in my opinion, kind of a lot for a German vehicle, but it's a diesel. It's got a good transmission. It's got a really good drivetrain on it. So I think she'll be okay. And I plan on using the tow this summer, so I need it to be reliable because I do not want to break down. Now, which way does it go? Working on a German car, we gotta have a little German accent. Now, what I was saying earlier about not having to torque these, if you're new to this, you probably should. Probably be a good idea. No offense. It's just you kind of got to learn your own strength. These have these metal inserts, so it's like damn near impossible to crush this. You know, even if you tighten it tight, the worst probably that will happen with this is either you strip the see, I almost put the pan in backwards. You strip the transmission housing where the bolt goes in, or you break the bolt off. You know, one of the two, because it has that metal colored insert. Certain things you kind of got to pay attention to. It's different for everything. So we're gonna go ahead, and I already got all the bolts set in. We'll go ahead and start snugging this thing up. You know, the fill plug comes out, like everybody recommends, pull the fill plug out before you take the drain plug out, which I agree with. It's always a good idea to be safe. I mean, here we really don't have a problem with it. If you're in a salty area, I would recommend it, just because you never know. So let's go ahead, get it loose. The drain plugs, you probably should replace them. You know, typical Volkswagen fashion. Want you to replace everything. Am I? No, absolutely not. We're gonna put them back in. Let's see what, hopefully you can see what the fluid looks like. That's pretty dark too. Okay. Well, while that's draining, I'm gonna go find the filler for the transmission body in it, because that's part of the transmission computer was bad. So part of the transmission computer is the valve body. One of those F-150s. And then these, you don't want to run them all the way in, you just want them snug. You actually crack the case. So we got that going. Let me drain this fluid out of here. Like I said, this is, I think it's Mercon LV. Let that drain. Try to get as much as we can out so I don't cross-contaminate this thing. Let me go get the gear oil bottle. I actually bought Volkswagen gear oil. Look at the Volkswagens. This is, I got, you can't read it, but it says transfer fluid as the part number. Hopefully it's right. This is the only one I found online. So some of the places they said that it takes dual clutch oil, which I actually have some from my last car, but I don't think that's right. With Volkswagen, this is just amazing. I think this bottle was just a smidge over 20 bucks, our cost from the dealer. It's just amazing. It comes with a little spout. Volkswagen. That is just amazing. A lot of people give it crap, but man, I don't know. I don't know if they work on cars. Some of this stuff is just so nice. And this isn't gonna take all of it. It's gonna overflow, and I'm okay with that. It should overflow. It says it only takes 0.7 of a liter, which we're actually really close to that right now. Let's do the finger test. I can't even get my big old giant Sasquatch finger in there. Okay, this thing's done. It's supposed to take 0.7, but I like to fill her up, buttercup. There we go. There's our full. See? It's perfect. Let it drip for a minute. Slow down to a good drain. We're gonna go ahead and cap this one off, call this transfer case full. Probably should let it drain a little bit longer. I really don't care. It's right close to where it needs to be, and I'm satisfied with that. It's not rocket science, these cars. Just machines. Go ahead and clean that. Oop, get my camera all messed up. Okay, transfer case is clean. Yep. Crap. Why does it spray like that? I'm usually not this messy. On camera. Off camera, absolutely. It's a bad night at Taco Bell. I don't know why it's. Gotta be gentle with it. That's pretty cool. There's that one. Instead of walking back 15 times, try to do a couple of them at a time. Asen Warner AW1, so it does work for Asen. Asen Warner. Oh, I hope this is the right fluid. Volkswagen. Yeah, it should be one of those. I don't remember which one it is, but it should be one of those. I was like, where's Audi at? But hopefully it's the correct fluid. Makes me feel better that it says Asen on it, though. So at least I know it works in some Asens. Because these fluids, when you get them like this, they fit so many different things, it's hard to keep track. like I was saying, the transfer case, my places my part suppliers, some of them said that the liquid moly, I think it's the 8100 for the dual clutch, that's what goes in the transfer case. I'm like, I don't really know about that. So I cross-reference it and check the part numbers with Mitchell, and then I look it up. I go to like ECS Tuning and all the other Volkswagen places just to make sure. I might not fill this, not on purpose. I think that's as much as I'm getting there right now. But I double, triple check, make sure, because I don't want to, you know, put the wrong fluid in this car. I'm always very, very worried about that. I prefer buying it from the dealer, but the dealer, the fluid is just so expensive. You know, it's seriously this. I don't remember how much I paid for these, but it's easily double the price. Let's say these like $15 to $20 each. The dealer, sometimes those bottles of fluid are 20-something a bottle, almost $30, which I don't think is correct. So if you just notice, I just put that piece back in. The reason I did that, it's gonna restrict the flow a little bit, but it's gonna make it easier when I go to put it back together. I'm not fighting the fluid coming out of me trying to put that back in. I just, like I said, got the correct one, so here's the adapter that I made. It's just, I think, 1/4 inch MPT to a hose fitting. We'll screw that in the trans. It's gonna make a little bit of a mess, but it is what it is. So this, I want to flush all this red fluid out of. I don't want this red fluid in my transmission. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna pump this thing up a little bit. And then we're going to get this red fluid out of this hose until it's clean, until it's clearish. Okay, we got clear fluid now. Stay in there now. Oh, it's like a hot dog in a hallway. This thing, it just slides in and out of there. It's not the right size. This is like 5/16 or 1/4 inch. It's like 5/16. So what we're gonna put a hose clamp on it, call it a day. And then I'm gonna fill this transmission, like I said, with all 8 liters of fluid. I need this. I want to try to get as much of that nasty old fluid out of there as I can. So let's commence filling. There we go. Then this thing's pretty cool. It's a Mighty Vac. Look at that, I got a leak. Just got to keep an eye on the gauge, pump it up, try to get that leak gone so we're not wasting too much fluid. And we're leaking a lot of fluid. But this thing works really good for this kind of stuff. This actually was designed, I think this is either a brake bleeder or this, but we've never used it for brake fluid. But as you can see, I'm losing a little bit of fluid. This thing's she's a leaker for sure. Whether it be that other hose or that one, I'm not really sure. We should probably stop. We're gonna loosen the hose clamp. We're gonna wrap it around. We're gonna see if this works. I know these clamps, they don't work very good when you get to this small of a size, especially this larger clamp. But hopefully, yeah, maybe it's leaking worse. Oh yeah, it's leaking good, see it? She's a leaker right there. I'll tell you what, that Hank Hill would say, I'll tell you what, she's a leaker. But it is what it is for now, I guess. Oh, because of restriction. See, I forgot about that. So I shouldn't be pumping this up that much. So I don't want to create any severe back pressure in there. That's probably what's going on. Because I put that tube in. That tube has a really small orifice in it. And it's just pushing up against it, trying to fight that fluid, just creating a lot of pressure. So I think we'll just kind of let it do it naturally. What I'm gonna do in the meantime, I'm gonna let this thing do its thing. I'm gonna go find a washer for this. slippery. I can't even hold on to the bottle. But, you know, just do your research when you're going to buy something. Do extensive research, I would recommend. Do as much as you possibly can so you understand what you're purchasing. Like I said, this vehicle, I've never owned one, so I don't know. It's a learning experience. And sorry about the light. My hand's covered in grease or gear oil. So that light isn't going to be changed anytime soon. But just do your research. Like this one, I've never owned one. I've never worked on one. I had zero experience with it. But, you know, I did tons of research online. And a lot of these vehicles that were for sale, I know it's hard to believe a Volkswagen Audi product can actually be reliable, but you know, this one, it seems like they can go easily a couple 100,000 miles with very minimal issues. And minimal, I mean like engine, transmission, you know. This is why they make those new bags for stuff like this. That is quite difficult to get in like that, covered in gear oil. So I'm going to use, apologize about the darkness, because my light died. Oof. Did I get you? I am just not having this here. It's a little cheapy Amazon syringe deal. This is like the one I had to fill the transmissions, but the one I had was a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna fill it up until it starts coming out. I think we're pretty much full on the diff anyways. No, maybe not. Yeah, it's dripping out. We're good. And I need to grab my thingy. You know, the thingy, gosh, what a mess this has been today. So, the rear diff is full of fluid. Take about 1 liter. I think you're not supposed to fill them all the way, but this is an unpopular opinion. I like to overfill mine just a smidge because I feel like it's better. Why? I have no idea. That is 100% my personal opinion. And not overfill, like, I mean, overfill and slam the plug in so there's fluid. You know, because some diffs are like, you're supposed to fill it, you're like 15 millimeters under the hole or something like, and that you're supposed to do. I understand that, but these I like to do it till they come out the hole. Clean it up. Make sure we don't have no leaks. Okay, let's go ahead and fill her up. Got some Top Tech special German fluid. Straight from the German land. I think that's what this is supposed to take, hopefully. I'm pretty sure. Because it's got to be 504, yeah. 504, 507 approved for these TDIs. Give it the good stuff. And I don't know how much oil this takes. I think it takes 7 or 8 quarts of oil. And this is 5 liters, so liter's almost a quart. I think a quart's a little bit more than a liter. So 1 liter, or sorry, this 5 liter jug is 5.28 US quarts. Try to get as much oil as we can out of here. Okay, there's that. 8 quarts. So according to Mitchell, it takes 8.1 quarts of engine oil. So we'll go ahead and try to get close to that. So we got 5.28. So I need just a smidge less than 3 quarts of oil in here. We're just gonna start pouring. Use my guessometer, my calibrated scale arm. I'm gonna say that's close. For me, it's probably too much, no, my luck. So we're gonna go ahead and put the cap back on. We don't make a splatter mess. Recommend Castrol, I'm sorry. Sorry to disappoint Audi, but not getting Castrol this time. Castrol makes pretty good oil. So I have the ignition on, scanner's getting set up right now. Let's go ahead and turn on the lift pump. The one thing that I wanted to notate that I forgot to say about earlier is that fuel filter that I installed, I guess there's two different ones that are made for this vehicle. There is a standard fuel filter, and there's one specifically for biodiesel. Now, how much biodiesel, I don't know. What I will say, here in California, we actually, most of our blends that I've ever seen is either renewable diesel or a blend of biodiesel. So I went with the biodiesel one. So hopefully that makes a little bit of a difference. So let's see if this works. And like I said, I've never done this before, so I'm learning too. So hopefully that makes a little bit of difference with the biofilter. So just make sure you're aware of that when you order it, whether you be whatever state. Yeah. And it cycles it. And then this is a perfect time for us right now, while it's doing its little test, to make sure we have no leaks. Whether this is doing anything up here, I honestly have no idea. I gotta clean my camera off. I got gear all over it. Oh yeah, it is. You can see though, when it pressurizes, it moves. So it doesn't look like we're leaking, so that's a great sign. Okay, let's do it one more time. Just try to get all the air out. We don't want to start this CP4 up dry. We don't want to burn it up. And then the next step, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and start it up for probably about 30 seconds, let it run, get all the oil situated throughout the engine. We'll check the oil level, get the engine oil level perfect, and then we'll go ahead and button up the transmission. And yeah, then we're getting on our way. And I'll do these hood struts and wiper blades at the end. I still got to put the skid plate on, and still got a ton of stuff to do. So we cycled that 2 times. So let's go ahead and fire this thing up. I'm going to reach inside and start to roll up. See if the timing chain rattle. Okay, let's check the oil level. So you're gonna let it run for 30 seconds or so, get all the oil situated everywhere, let it sit for a second, and we'll check it. The next thing maybe I want to do, maybe do a power steering flush on it. Probably put a good air filter in it. It looks like it's got some cheap engine air filter. But it's being diesel, turbo, a lot of airflow. Definitely don't want no cheap filter in there. So we need to add some more oil to her. And the beautiful thing about this Audi is it actually has a physical dipstick, which I really like. And you can see right here, we're just right in the bottom of the minimum. Now I don't know if that minimum means that it needs, that's 2 quarts or 1 quart. Because like diesel trucks, they're usually, the line between minimum and maximum is 2 quarts. I'm assuming this one's gonna be 1 because it's not that large of a sump in there, you know. We'll go ahead and fill it up. Nice. So, let's see. Let's check it real quick. Make sure we're going in a good direction. About halfway on the stick. That oil's actually pretty clean too. I think the dealer did do an oil change before I bought it, or it was just done before. And you can see we're right about halfway. I'm just gonna give it just a little gurgle more, and then just give it a little splash, just so it's closer to full, and then we're good. I'm gonna call that done. But I'm pretty sure that someone just did the oil change on it, but the maintenance minder inside said it had 4,100 miles left to service. And generally these Audis are 10,000 mile intervals, so I'm assuming it was either done and not reset or something, I'm not sure. But it is full, coolant I already checked is good. I'm gonna go ahead and start this thing up. Like I said, I cannot get in it, so I'm going to push my foot, or I have that bar, I'm gonna put on the brake, run it through the gears real quick, and then we're gonna check the transfer level, or the temperature. Currently the engine is running in park. the transmission fluid temperature is 109 degrees Fahrenheit. We have to check it between 95 and 113, I believe. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this plug out and let her drip drain, and that'll set the thing. We're gonna see a lot of fluid come out of here, which is okay. It's just that's just the way it is on these. We're at 118 degrees, which is too high to do this. So I'm gonna have to put the plug in and shut it off. I should have started earlier, but I didn't think it was gonna drain so slow, but I should have figured. So let me get everything out from under here so I can shut this thing off real quick. So while I'm letting the engine cool down, we're gonna go ahead and do these hood struts real quick. Well, if you can't even see what I'm doing, hopefully you can see better. I'm just gonna pop this clip out. I have a support rod on the hood. Hopefully it actually worked. These ones just a little weak. I don't feel like getting my head smashed in when I pop the hood. And so we got to change. There's that one. And then we're gonna go ahead and do that one over there real quick. Once I get these done, I can shut the hood, and then I can put the wipers in service position and replace both the wiper blades on the front. So I tried putting it in service position, and I'm like, why is it not working? And so that's just normal proceedings. Whenever I buy a used car, I always like to go through them. Obviously the brakes have been done, tires are new, so we don't have to worry about none of that. The next couple things that I do need to worry about, I need to finish the transmission service. That needs to be done and perfect. I will do that maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, I'm not sure yet. But I need to get it done sooner or later. The next step is I need to polish these headlights and maybe those little LED strips. Those need to be polished. I think they already buffed them because they were pretty bad when I looked at the car, so it looks like they cleaned them up. You can see some oxidation. So if in Audi fashion these headlights come out without taking the bumper, I'm going to pull them out, I'll sand them, and then I'll clear them so that they look nice. Maybe I'll do the LED strips too if you don't have to take the bumper off. We'll do that, get that all nice and clean. The next thing that does need to be done, if you have an Audi, Volkswagen, Porsche, anything of that product, sunroof drains are a big deal on these cars. If you don't take care of them, nothing but problems with these sunroofs. Need to lubricate them, clean the drains, everything needs to be taken care of. So that will be the next thing that needs to be done after. I mean, I'm not going to do the headlights first. I need to do the sunroof, the transmission service. That's the next couple steps, just to get this thing in tip-top shape so it's perfect. You know, it's just certain things. You know, the oil change, I don't know if somebody did it. I reset the thing, and the maintenance minder says 10,000 miles left. So when I bought it, it had about 4,100 miles left on the oil change. So either they did it and didn't reset it, or they didn't do it at all. And I'm not the kind of guy to take the chance. I'd rather just replace it, be done, don't even have to think about it now. I know I've got the correct oil in there. I've got a high quality oil filter. Don't have to worry about it for another 5,000 miles. That's when I'll do it again. I'll do it in 5,000 miles or a year. So yeah, just my personal preference. I run high quality oil, run a high quality filter, and I'll do it again when I get the time. Same thing, fuel filter. I'm going to do it again at the oil change interval, just because CP4, I'm weird. That filter's like $20. $20 is a lot cheaper than having that pump explode and take the rest of the system out. So, you know, it's just things you have to think of. It's not really that expensive, but you know, thankfully for me, it's easier. You know, I'm in this industry. I get the parts cheaper than most people. You know, but I just idealistically, I shouldn't say that. I should say realistically, even some of the internet parts are cheaper than I can even buy them for. So it kind of sucks. But with me doing my own labor, knowing what I'm doing for the most part, you know, it's pretty easy. You know, it saves me a whole lot of money versus you buying, say, if you purchase this vehicle, all those services that I just did would, I mean, I'm just going to throw a number, probably about $1,000, you know, just fuel filter, you know, the labor for that, the oil change, you know, the oil, my cost on that oil is actually very expensive. I think I paid a lot for that. I paid a lot more than I'd like to, but it's good oil. I don't have to worry about it. You know, that the oil change for this car is at least a $200 oil change at a shop, you know, at least. And I mean, you have the transfer case, the transmission fluid, all that, those 8 liters of fluid, that filter kit. You know, the filter kit's not a cheap piece of junk one. It's not like the bottom of the quality. It's a Hengst, or however you pronounce it. It's a German brand made in Taiwan, so it's not horrible. But in my mind, I'm going to change it again in, probably about 20,000 miles, so I don't need it to be a Volkswagen filter, because a Volkswagen filter is probably $200. And some of those things you just have to kind of figure out which line you draw, but it's still a quality filter. It's Taiwan, it's not Chinese, so Taiwan, in my opinion, they make better products than the Chinese counterparts. But yeah, kind of going off on a tangent. But overall, it's not a bad car. It does have an oil leak, looks like from the rear main, the oil pan. That will have to be addressed at some point in its life. And then obviously the front differential. I have another video coming out about the problem with this car when I bought it, but the differential is going to have to be addressed as soon as possible, probably next weekend. If I do end up doing whatever to that, I will film a video on it, because the differential, I'm going to physically remove it more than likely, and I'm going to exchange it with a rebuilt one that somebody has, local business, not a local business, but a business out here in California. Just to get it done in one day. I'll go drive it down there, grab it, swap it out, and pop it in and be done. Just so that it's perfect. I don't have to worry about that. It's going to cost a little bit of money, but for me to rebuild it, there's no specifications on it, so it makes it really difficult for me to rebuild it. And truthfully, I've never rebuilt a third member. I'm sure it'd be pretty easy, but I'd rather have somebody that's a professional, know what they're doing, rebuild it, and it'll be perfect. I don't have to think about it. So that's my mentality on that. But yeah, these kind of cars I don't recommend for everybody. They're not for everybody. When they get to this mileage, things do happen, but for the most part, you have to pick and choose. Certain brands, everybody has their garbage in their brands, I try to buy the better stuff, the stuff that I don't believe is garbage, like Audi, Volkswagen, anything 4-cylinder gasoline, I do not like. Wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Certain ones, the older ones used to be really good, but the new stuff is just hit and miss. It's timing chain issues, all kinds of issues. I'm personally not interested in it. They don't really make enough power for me to enjoy it. I don't care for them. I'd rather have something like this, big V6 turbo diesel, relatively reliable for the power. I mean, this thing is a boat. I think this thing weighs 5,500 pounds, so it's not a race car, but it'll get the job done. But thanks for watching. If you have any comments, don't forget to comment down below, and thank you.